Is Germany going down? I found this video by Sabine Hossenfelder, who is quite popular on YouTube, especially because she's German and a scientist. And to be honest, I got also fears about Germany, and maybe we found the same problems. So let's hear why she's embarrassed to be German. Let's go.
I never thought I'd say this, but I'm embarrassed to be German. Things
Why?
are going seriously wrong here in Germany, and I want to talk about this because I think from the outside it's not all that obvious yet. I've had many people from overseas asking me, what happened to your country? It didn't used to be that way. And that's right. Germany's not the well-functioning, environmentally super-conscious, high-tech nation it used to be. You go to
That's
a
true.
train station,
Oh.
half the trains are cancelled, the other half's delayed, the escalators are broken, the announcements are barely audible, and in the unlikely event that you can connect to the Wi-Fi, it's so slow that by the time the news is streaming, it's become a historical document.
That's true. German trains are not reliable. Especially as a tourist, it would be hell to use the German trains because you're in a different country, there's a different language, and the trains are not reliable. Even as a German, when I travel with trains, I need to take 3 extra hours just to be safe. Because if I don't take those 3 extra hours, I might never arrive. That's the German train system. She's right, the train station is dirty, there are a lot of thieves and criminals, trains are not arriving. The internet is slow, especially in trains. Sometimes it's not working.
Or maybe it's quantum Wi-Fi collapses the moment you touch it. Okay, I'm exaggerating. It's not always and everywhere that bad. But it gives you an impression something's wrong. And it's not just the railway. The German government has made a long sequence of bad decisions about our infrastructure and technological development. As a consequence, this country is slowly but inevitably falling behind technologically, and because of this, also economically. The world just isn't appropriately afraid of us anymore. For example,
Okay. You don't need to be afraid of us anymore. Believe me. Okay, let's go.
I have a British friend who lives in a tiny village with like 150 inhabitants somewhere in the English countryside. They don't even have a gas station. I mean, petrol. But they've got fiber optic cable.
What?
I, meanwhile, live in one of the most industrialized regions of Germany, and I've been trying to get fiber optics for years, unsuccessfully. I still sit on 150 megabits per second copper cables. They have faster internet on the international space.
That's embarrassing. Every developing nation has better internet than Germany. Germany is rich. We got the technology, we got the money, but still, fiber optic is still not standard. Even right now, in the area where I live, fiber optic is not available. I can't use it. I have to use old copper cables. That's why I can't stream.
And I consider myself lucky because if you go a few kilometers down the street, they have 5 megabits per second on a good day. Yes, that's right, 5 megabits per second internet in central Germany. Germany has the second lowest fiber optic cable coverage in the European Union. Only place that's worse is Belgium, a country which half of the time doesn't even have a government. The state of the German internet is pathetic. We've also been slow to switch to electric vehicles or heat pumps. The German reputation for being particularly environmentally friendly has been buried in a biodegradable coffin because we like to.
By the way, I think heat pumps are coming. This video is 1 year old, so maybe the landscape changed. But it's very expensive. I looked it up. Heat pumps cost about 40 to 50,000 euros. I think half of the price is covered by the government, but still, that's quite a lot of money. And not everyone can afford heat pumps.
Pretend. At the moment, it's something that we joke about inside the country, how crap things have become. Like a recent commentary in a major German newspaper about the malfunctioning German railway that was a disaster during the European Football Championship. The author concluded with saying, well, the most environmentally friendly train is one that doesn't go. Or the guy who bought an electric vehicle and couldn't find a charging place that actually worked, who concluded that if you buy an electric vehicle in Germany, also buy a dog so that you don't have to walk home alone.
I think this one is a bit over dramatic. In my small village, we got electric stations, so you can charge your car, but it's not a lot. and you need to wait. So this one is a bit overdramatic.
Yes, it's funny, but you see, humor, especially sarcasm, is a way to cope with problems that we can't solve. Because why face reality if you can mock it instead? Which is why looking at the jokes people make is a good way to find out how healthy their country is. What do the Brits joke about?
Well, he wants net migration to be at 0. Well, I want a bigger dick. It's not a policy, is it?
See, that's how a healthy country looks like. What went wrong in Germany? There are many factors that played a role, but I think one stands out. What happened with the German railway, for example, is that the government privatized it in 1994. The so-called privatization converted the previously nationalized company into a stock company. The share of stocks owned by the state is 100%.
And you should know that German Deutsche Bahn and the German Telekom are quite weird businesses because they got a lot of daughter companies. So it's one big company with a lot of sub companies. I have no idea why, maybe to get tax benefits. So it's quite complicated. My friend worked at a telecom and he said that they had so many sub companies that you didn't know where to go. It was just too much.
Some privatization, don't you think? In the same spirit, I really encourage you to watch whatever YouTube channel you like, so long as it's mine. But really, this pseudo-privatization isn't the main problem. The main problem is that the German railway is financed mainly by state subsidies and was grossly underfunded for almost 2 decades. A lot of necessary repairs and upgrades weren't done. Our trains are now so advanced, they've mastered time travel. You board in 2024 and arrive in 1995. They're now trying to fix this, which is why there are constructions going on in half the country, and that's what's causing the constant delays. I've arrived at the point where I'm glad if a train is delayed, because that means at least it's going. Though I got even more lucky last time I attempted to take a train because the drivers went on strike and I had to go 800 kilometers by car. I got 2 speeding tickets, thanks for asking. The internet problems have a similar cause: lack of investment at the time when it was necessary. Instead of switching to fiber optics long ago, the German government supported upgrading the existing copper cable connections. Big mistake. They're now trying to fix it, but we're far behind. Same problem with the switch to electric vehicles or renewables. The Germans were too slow to make decisions. And that's the common theme here. The Germans are too slow. Germans are...
For me, it looks like Germany doesn't want to change. It found a rhythm, and going out of this rhythm takes a lot of energy. If it's working, why change? I think that's the mentality which is bringing all these problems.
Stereotypically thorough and pay attention to detail and do everything very, very precisely. Yes, it's a stereotype, but I think it's mostly true. I mean, it's why you subscribe to this channel, right? Because I can't stand it if I'm 5 pixels off the middle of the screen. German precision. This dedication to thoroughness and precision is why the German industry is renowned for high-quality products. It's also in the past saved us from a lot of follies, like the dot-com bubble, supersonic flights, Sedgeways, spray cheese, you name it. Those were all cases where let's wait and see saved Germany time and money. But the world is now changing so fast that let's wait and see is no longer a good strategy. A good illustration for how German thoroughness can get in the way is what they call Technologieoffenheit over here. In English, that'd be technology openness, and it basically means that the government throws tax money at any idiotic idea they can find. It's basically let 1,000 flowers bloom, except that most of them are psychedelic mushrooms. For example, those electric highways that I talked about a while ago, the one where the test project cost 150 million euro for 20 kilometers and was used by a total of 9 trucks, most of them were usually out of service for repairs. The idea of the electric highway is that trucks can recharge electric batteries from overhead cables while driving. It's a nice idea.
It's a nice idea, but it's crazy. Okay, if you got those highways all over Germany, you need trucks for it. Okay, The Germans get those trucks, but what about other countries that go to Germany? Or what about trucks from Germany going to other countries? They don't got those roads. So what happens then? It doesn't make any sense. It's a good idea, which works in paradise, but not in reality.
Principle. In practice, the problem is, there are no power lines alongside highways. It's cheaper and faster to swap batteries in gas stations. That's the fast answer anyway. But the Germans are thorough, so they test and evaluate. And I'm sure that in as little as a decade or so, they'll come to agree with what I just told you. We should also consider bringing back the horse and buggy, just to be thorough. And I haven't yet even mentioned the biggest idiocy of this technology openness, which was to phase out nuclear power and bank on a non-existing hydrogen economy. You see, Germany has a lot of energy-intensive industry that's very difficult to decarbonize. About 80% of the energy in Germany still comes from fossil fuels. The obvious way to get off fossil fuels is nuclear power. I say it's obvious because the technology exists already. You know that it works and it would get the job done. But is it really the best way to decarbonize? Maybe not. And this is where the German thoroughness gets in the way, because the German government thinks that if there was a hydrogen economy, then it'd be better to use that instead of nuclear power. Hey, if pigs could fly, maybe they'd be more carbon friendly than ever.
Yeah, and that's true. Germans are trying to build products for a world that doesn't exist yet. So instead of building this world, they're building products for it. And I think that's kind of how Germany works. Germany, or the German government, they're always trying to dictate the reality. I say how it is, and it will be how it is. For example, all those laws about the internet, the cookie banners, and so on. It doesn't make sense in reality, but the German government doesn't care, or the European government, they don't care. They dictate reality. Even if 99% of all users hate or are annoyed by those cookie banners, the government still says, no, they will like it. Doesn't make any sense.
Planes. The German government has this crazy idea that we'll store energy from renewables and hydrogen, which can then later be used for energy generation. The problem is, as I've explained in several previous videos, hydrogen is difficult to deal with and inefficient as storage. I think it'll be much more expensive than projected and make no commercial sense. And that's why I expect the hydrogen bubble to burst in the next 5 years, because 90% of the planned projects will not come into existence. It's also quite ironic if you know that the explosion you see in the footage from the Fukushima accident is a hydrogen explosion. Now,
really?
You might say Sabine doesn't know anything and the hydrogen economy might come along just fine. Fair enough. But do you really want to bank the future of an entire country on the possibility that a so far non-existing part of the economy will come into...
For example, right now, the German government thinks about building more hydrogen stations for trucks that are not here. Why would you waste your time and money on that? Especially when hydrogen is still very expensive and hydrogen trucks are not popular at all.
Being within 10 years. Seriously? Even if you are willing to take that risk, how many companies do you think are willing to take it? All these hydrogen-powered plants can also be run on methane, aka natural gas. If this hydrogen business doesn't work out, Germany will get stuck on fossil fuels, and that's becoming increasingly unappealing for investors. I think the German government is making a big mistake. Banking on hydrogen is really a delay game. It tells us that they believe climate change will magically go away. They're slow to realize that we can't avoid decarbonization, and the more we delay it, the more this country will go downhill. And that's why I'm embarrassed to be German, because the Germans are so slow. I said I never expected to say this. I said this not because I think so highly of Germany, but because I've never identified much with Germany in the first place. I've never been proud to be German. So why be embarrassed? Because I feel like I could have done more. Maybe I should have studied something more useful than theoretical physics. Maybe I should have gone into politics. Maybe I should just have been a little bit louder. So here I am, trying to be a little bit louder.
So that's why Sabine is embarrassed to be German. What do you think? How is your country compared to Germany? Are you fast in development? Or are you also slow? Maybe the grass isn't really green on the other side? To be honest, I feel she's right. Germany is too slow, doesn't take risk, and is a little bit delusional. They're not going with the flow, they're trying to create a different reality which isn't possible. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an expert, I'm not a politician, I'm just Maxim. So if you have other videos to react, write it in the comment section. Please give me a like, a follow, and I will see you later, alligator. Auf Wiedersehen, bye bye.